Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Nice to have you here again. Today we're going to be drafting our basic bodice pattern. I'll be showing you how to apply the measurements that we learned in the previous video, how to get it done in order to achieve your basic bodice sloper, which you can adapt to any style you want, depending on the principles and the style you want to achieve. But this is the first practical step, because when you have this basic bodice of yourself or your customers, you can easily trace and then draft your working pattern. So today we're going to be starting with the 10 foundational lines, which is the first. We're going to be using this sheet of paper. As many of you may know, you can easily get it in any shop. We're going to be using our pattern master. I'll be using my pencils, my pen, and my marker so that you can see better what I am doing. So let's get started. The first step is to get the 10 foundational lines, which I will be displaying on the screen, and we'll be taking them one after the other. The first line is the top line, and this is what we call our starting line. We take this line 2 inches down from the top of the paper. So we measure 2 inches from the top of our paper, and this is our top line. Now we draw across. Then I'll be making this clearer with my marker. Yes, this is our top line, which we'll mark as top line. This is the first foundational line. Our second line is our waistline, and we're going to be using our full front length or shoulder to waist measurement to draft this. Now for this client, our shoulder to waist measurement is 17 inches. So we'll be drawing it across. Okay. This is the waistline, which we are going to label as such. Now the third foundational line is our hip line, and this is usually 8 inches from the waistline. So what we'll do is to measure 8 inches down from our waistline and mark that as our hip line. This is a general rule of thumb because it applies in most cases. Now, the next step is to get our fourth line. This is our hip line. So the next step is our nape to waist line. Yes, you remember that in our measurement video, we measured our nape to waist measurement. In this video, we are going to be applying that measurement. This is the measurement that enables us to eliminate any excess cloth at our zipper or at our back, at our center back, so that we don't have the infamous zipper bulge. So this is the measurement we are going to be applying now. And this measurement, we are going to mark it from the waistline up. Now, before we continue, this is going to be the back of our pattern, while this is the front of our pattern, and I'll be labeling them. So this is our back, Well, this is our front. Yeah. So here our nape to waist measurement for this client is 15.5, which will be marking up from the waistline on the back of our pattern. So this is our tape. We go here and we get 15.5 and we mark it. We are marking up from the waistline, and this measurement only applies for the back of our pattern. I will draw it. Now, this is our nape to waistline. N to waist, nape to waist. So yeah, that is the nape to waistline. And this is our fourth foundational line. Remember, I told you that we need 10 foundational lines for this pattern. Now, our fifth foundational line is what we call our back underarm line. Now, to get our back underarm line, which is our fifth foundational line, we are going to do a little calculation. And this calculation, the formula will be displayed on the screen right about now. So this is the nape to waist measurement divided by 2 minus 1. Now, we already know that our nape to waist measurement is 15.5. Divided by 2 and then minusing 1 is going to give us 6.75. So this measurement will be marked up from the waistline. So we are going to start from the waistline in marking up this measurement. So here we're going to mark 6.75 across the board. Across the board. And we call this our back underarm line. The next foundational line we will be marking is our sixth foundational line, and this is our across back line. Remember that across back measurement we took in our previous video? Yes, this is the line for it. So now to get our across back measurement, we are going to also be doing a little calculation, which is our nape to waist line, this line marked here, to our underarm back line, which is the most previous line we marked, divided by 2. Now you can just bend your tape, get the reading, which is 8.5 in this case. You can bend your tape and then mark this line. And this line applies only for our back pattern. And we draw this across. Not across the board. There's a difference when I say across the board and just draw across. So we label this as our across back line. And this is our sixth foundational line. Remember, I told you that we had 10. So we are moving. Now to get our seventh foundational line, we are going to be marking our front underarm line. Remember that we've mostly been doing our back lines. Now we are moving to the front. So to get our front underarm line, we are going to come here and measure what we have from the top line to the nape to waist line. And in this case, I have 1.5. So that 1.5 measurement is what will come here to our this line. This is our underarm back line on the front side. And we mark that 1.5 on the front part of our pattern, and then we draw. And we label this line as our front underarm line. This is the seventh foundational line. Now we are moving. Now to get our eighth foundational line, yes, we are going to get our eighth foundational line, we are going to come down 1.25 inches from our nape to waist line to give us our back shoulder line. Remember, we took the back shoulder measurement in our previous video when we were learning how to measure. So now we come back down from the nape to waist by 1.25. This is a general rule of thumb because it applies for most body types. 1.25 inches down from our nape to waist line. We draw it across and label it as our back shoulder line. This is the 8th foundational line. We have 2 more to go. So the 9th foundational line is going to be our across chest line. Yes. So we are going to go up 2 inches from this front underarm line that we have here. And this is going to give us our across chest line. This is also a general rule of thumb because it works for most people. So 2 inches above your front underarm line will give you your across chest line. And this is our 9th foundational line. Now, the last and final foundational line is going to be our front shoulder line. And on this point, we have to come down 1.5 inches from our top line on the front part. So we come down 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. I will draw it across. And that is how we get our front shoulder line. Yes, if you have watched to this point, I'm going to give you a big kudos. I know that this is a little bit different from the normal YouTube basic bodice pattern which we see on most creator pages, but this pattern is assured to give you a more perfect fit, if I can use that word. Yes, because your front shoulder, your back shoulder, your across chest and across back are going to be balanced. They are not, I don't know if you have ever sewn something, and this mostly happens in ready to wear, and you just notice that the shoulder is either too wide or the across chest is too wide or too tight. To avoid that, this is a customized way that you can customize your pattern for each client. And this is very good for people that sew custom wears. So these are our 10 foundational lines, and this is now where we begin to apply our client measurements into these lines. Now we'll be applying our measurements to our lines, and the first we're going to start with is we're going to mark our bust, waist, and hip measurements. Now we have our bust as 38, and when we divide by 4, 38 divided by 4 will give us 9.5. So remember that this is the back side of our pattern. So we mark on this back underarm line 9.5. For our front, we don't mark it on the same back underarm line because our front has its own front underarm line. So that is where we will mark our 9.5. There. So next we're going to mark is our waist measurement, and we have our waist as 34 for this client, and 34 divided by 4 is going to give us 8.5. So here we have a common waistline for both front and back, and we'll mark our 8.5 there as well. Remember that we are drafting for front and back simultaneously at the same time. So 8.5, 8.5. And then for this client, we have our hip measurement as 44. Divided by 4 is going to give us 11. So we mark our 11 on our hip line. For both front and back. So now we can connect our lines. Yes. So we are getting ahead. Next, we're going to line to mark is our back shoulder and across back line. So when we were measuring for this client, we have our back shoulder measurement as 15.5. Here we are going to divide by 2 to get the arc, the back shoulder arc. Not by 4 this time, but by 2. So 15.5, which is our back shoulder, divided by 2 is going to give us 7.75. And we'll be marking it on our back shoulder line. 7.75. Yes. And then for our across back, we have our across back reading as 15 and divided by 2 is going to give us 7.5. This we are going to mark on our across back line. 7.5. Now for this across back line of 7.5, we are going to further come down to our back underarm line and mark the same 7.5 to give us a straight line. Now we connect our lines. We're going to do the same for our front pattern. Now, on our across chest, we have 14.75, which when divided by 2 is going to give us 7.375, which we mark on our across chest line. 738. For our front shoulder, we measured on our client 15 for the front shoulder. So divided by 2 is going to give us 7.5, which we mark on our front shoulder line. Now, just like we did on the back, this 7.375 on our across chest, we also come down and mark it on our front underarm line. 738 of an inch. And now we connect our lines. Yes. So we are doing it. Moving on, we are going to be getting our neck width. And we do this by a simple calculation of bust divided by 8 plus 1, everything divided by 2. The calculation will be displayed on the screen. So, in this case, our client has a bust of 38. 38 divided by 8 plus 1, everything divided by 2 is going to give us 2.875. Now, this 2.875 we are going to mark on our nape to waist line at the back. We're going to be doing this for both the front and the back, but let's start with the back. So 2.875 is 278 or 2/14/16, depending on the kind of tape you're using. And we mark the same on our front, the same 2.875 on our front, but this time we mark on the top line, which is the first foundational line. So we mark 2.875. Yes, that is the neck width of this client. Now for the back, we're going to go up above this nape to waist line by 6/8 of an inch, which is 0.75. So we go up 0.75 from this line, and we just do a little vertical line to connect those 2 points. And then we connect it back to the back shoulder line this way. And now we have our shoulder line. To form our neck curve, we come in by 1/2 an inch. Here you can use your armhole curve. So we connect, thereby forming our neck curve for the back. So for the front, after marking our neck width on our top line, we connect it to the front shoulder line this way. And now we have our shoulder line for our front. Now, that 2.875 we got as our neck width, we're going to add 0.375, which is 3/8 of an inch, to get our neck depth. So when we do that calculation, we're going to be getting 3.25. That is 2.875 plus 3/8 of an inch, or 0.375. So we'll mark that 3.25, which is now our neck depth, on our front. 3.25. Yeah. So we make sure to get a 90-degree angle and draw as such. So now, to get our neck curve for our front, we come down here by half an inch. We come in as well by half an inch. And then we use our armhole curve to connect both points. And that's how we get our neck curve for the front. So the next point will be to now mark our bust span, which is our nipple to nipple measurement. In this case, our client has a bust span of 7.5. In this case, our client has a bust span of 7.5, which we are going to divide by 2 to get 3.75. This measurement we mark from our center front and center back. Starting from our center back, we mark this measurement 3.75 on our bust, waist, and hip. And we connect. We do the same for our front. Yellow, green. 3.75. Red, yellow. And connect. Please note that we do not mark the bust span on the front underarm line, but on the back underarm line, which is common between the two. So that is going to be our bust point for the front. So moving along, now we are going to determine for our pattern if we want to add ease to our pattern. Now I recommend this because we at some point may not want tightly fitted garment. It all depends on the style. If the style is tightly fitted, then you can decide not to add any ease. But going with the way I measure firmly, so I know that if I want to add ease, I know how much ease to add. So based on my bust measurement, I would like to add an ease of 1 inch. I would like to add an ease of 1 inch to my bust measurement, and 1 inch divided by 4 is going to give me 0.25. So this is because I may want some breathing space or some room to breathe for this client. So I'll be adding 0.25 to the bust underarm back line of our back pattern. We'll just mark 0.25 here. And we'll also do this for the front underarm line. I'm also going to be adding 1 inch to my waist and my hip measurements because I also like some ease there as well. So 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. Now I will be connecting my ease line. This is called your ease line. So you connect your bust to your hip for the back. And I'll be doing the same for the front. Bust to hip, ease line. Yes. So at this point now, we can get our darts for our back and our front. And we do this by measuring. Now we place our tape at the point where we added the 0.25 ease, and we measure up to the ease line. Then we continue again from the ease line to the ease point on the front. So now we start measuring. Place my tape here at the ease point, and getting to the ease line, I get 1.5. Then I begin from that 1.5 here on the front and measure to my ease point on the front, which gives me 3.25. Now this 3.25 I have gotten, I will be dividing by 6 because I'm going to be adding this dart in 6 places. So 3.25 divided by 6, we're going to do that calculation. Now, when we do that calculation, we get 0.542, which is just a little above half an inch. So we'll be placing 0.54 on each side of the bust span line. We're also going to be placing it away from our ease line. Same for the front, away from the ease line, and then on both sides of the bust span line. So now we have our dart and we connect it as so. Please remember to come up from the hip line by 2 inches on both the front and back patterns before connecting your darts. Now, also remember to connect here. Now, when we have to trace this pattern out, we'll be tracing out on this line that we just connected. So now the next point is to get our bust darts. Yes, as you can see in both patterns, one seems longer than the other, which is the front, because of the bust dart which has not been taken out from this front. So it seems longer than this. So now we'll be getting our bust dart on our front pattern. Because of course you know that the front and back are not equal because of the space that our bust takes up. So now in this case, the value for our bust dart is the distance between our front underline arm line and our back underarm line. The distance here, as you recall, is 1.5. Is 1.5. So this is our bust dart, and we'll be marking it from the front underarm line. We're going to come down by 2 inches before we mark our bust dart of 1.5, and we connect to the bust point. So now we have our bust darts. Now, if you observe closely, you'll find out that the back shoulder line is longer than the front shoulder line. So we always have a back shoulder dart. And the first step is to get the midpoint of the back shoulder line. When we get the midpoint, you can do this by folding your tape and then mark. After marking, we place our ruler in such a way that it is in 90 degrees with the back shoulder line, and we draw a line that is 3 inches long. Just make sure that the line is 3 inches long. Now, the next step will be to measure what we have on our front shoulder line and what we have on our back shoulder line and minus the excess. So now, measuring the front shoulder line, we have a value of 5. And measuring our back shoulder line, we have a value of 5.25. And now we can clearly see that the excess is 0.25. We're going to be dividing 0.25 by 2 and sharing it evenly across this dart line. So now 0.25 divided by 2 will give us 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch, which we are going to mark on either sides of the line. And we connect. Now, we ensure that when this dart is taken out, it is going to be equal to the front shoulder so that there will be no excess. Now, the next point will be to draw in our armhole curve for both the back and the front. And we start by getting an angle 45 degrees on the back underarm line. When we place our master pattern in such a way that it gives us a 45-degree angle, the same thing for the front, giving us a 45-degree angle, and we draw. Yes. Now the next step is to measure. We measure the distance from this point to our ease point. Here we have 2.5, and we measure 2.5 by 2, which is 1.25, and we mark it on this line. 1.25. Now, the next step will be to come down from our across back line by 0.5 inches, and we connect this with our armhole curve. We connect these 3 points using our armhole curve. Now, this is our back shoulder line. From the back shoulder to across back line, on this line, we get the middle point, and we can do this by folding our tape to get the middle. When we do this, then we come in by 1/8 of an inch, and we connect the points. So in this way, we have gotten our armhole curve for our back. Now let's do it for the front. On the front, we measure from the ease point to where our across chest measurement sits. And we have the same 2.5. But rather than dividing by 2, this time we divide by 4. So when we divide 2.5 by 4, we get. So now, when we divide 2.5 by 4, we have 0.625 or 5/8 of an inch, which we mark on the diagonal line. 0.625 or 5/8 of an inch. So when we mark, we connect like this. So from our front shoulder to across chest line, we also get the midpoint, and we can do this by just bending our tape. When we get the midpoint, then we go in by 3/8 of an inch or 0.375, and we connect to the front shoulder and also to the across chest points. And then we use our armhole curve to connect the last curve. And now we have gotten our armhole curve for our front pattern. Now at this point, we have come to the end of this video. Here it is, so that you can get a closer look. This is our basic block, where at this point, if I want to adapt this to any other working pattern or design pattern, I only have to place another plain white paper sheet on this and use my tracing wheel to trace out my front and my back patterns. So this is necessary to have for every client, so that you don't always start from scratch in drafting their basic bodice pattern. So this is excellent and well done. And if you have stayed up to this point in our video, a very big kudos to you. And if you have gained something from this video, I encourage you to please like our video, support us by subscribing, so that you can have more updates on this channel. Thank you and God bless.